The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, thanks. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico de Haan and Paige Clark.
Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced and natural wild world to recover our natural health and regain our rights and freedoms. I'm Nico de Haan. Good morning. And it's a beautiful day in downtown St. Petersburg, 68 degrees and mostly cloudy, kind of cool here, which is nice for us. And I'd like to remind you, of course, to please pick up our brand new Health Signals newsletter. Number 22 is out today. You'll be receiving it today sometime, and it's all about the dangers of low cholesterol and really goes in deep with a lot of conversations about cholesterol. And last week when I was talking about the cholesterol, we noted that, that one of the dangers of having low cholesterol is aggression and violence. And we see that in society today. So take a look at that and see how it can impact your life. Also like to remind you to pick up the Primal Edge. This is our one-shot wonder, the over 310 organic cell-ready ingredients, all made to make you healthy. And the thing that fuels this, of course, is the fulvic and humic acid, which is really nature's molecules that tell you to get the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. So please pick that up. It's only $89 a month. And the Health Signals newsletter is $10 a month, 2 issues on the first and third Tuesday of every month. I'd like to start today with talking about the sun, kind of Earth and Sun report for me here. And over the weekend, a small sunspot materialized on the sun's northern hemisphere, then hours later vanished again. Such an occurrence is hardly unusual during the solar minimum, where sunspots are naturally small and short-lived. However, this sunspot that wasn't around very long was notable because its magnetic field was reversed, marking it as a member of the new solar cycle. And shown above here is a map of the sun from NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, and this was on November 17th. 2 spot groups were visible at 2100, and we see this one here. You can see polarity on this is a plus-minus, and a new sunspot, that's the one just north of the equator. It's a member of the decaying solar cycle 24, the cycle that peaked back in 2012-2014. Next, compare its magnetic polarity to the other one, which is an unnamed one up here, and you can see that's a minus-plus, which means it's reversed. And this shows the transition between solar cycle 24 and 25. So solar cycles often mix together at their boundaries. So there was one, I think, let's see, it was back in November 17th, that was the one. They also had one back in April of 2016, and also December 20th of 2016, and April 8th of 2018. So we've had 3 of these ones that kind of sneak in, and this is the transition zone where we're eventually going to be seeing nothing but the minus-plus instead of the plus-minus. So the sun reverses every 11 years, and we have a solar minimum and a solar maximum, and right now we're in the minimum phase where there's very few sunspots. What does this mean? The solar cycles often mix together at their boundaries, and they, ones belonging to one solar cycle are on the way in, and the one for solar cycle 24 are kind of weighing out and going the opposite way. So it suggests that the solar cycle is still operative. This contradicts widespread internet buzz that the grand solar minimum is in the offing, with no sunspots expected for decades as the solar cycle grinds to a halt. Second, if patterns of the previous solar cycles hold, solar minimum is not finished yet. It will probably continue to deepen in a year or so ahead with the new solar cycle 25 sunspots occasionally popping up, promising to end this stage. So a lot of people are saying that we are entering this grand solar minimum right now. Sarkova, Dr. Sarkova is one of them. DAP 2030 is also saying that. Oppenheimer Ranch. I was listening to Ben Davidson from the Sunspot Observatory there, and he was saying that it might be another cycle before this one. So we really don't know what's going on. It's a good idea to keep this, but certainly the weather has been changing, getting a lot more cold events, and this is what the solar minimum brings in. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So let's move on to Thanksgiving now. So I wanted to start here, first of all, with talking about a little bit about Thanksgiving, how it began. But first, let's say that it's, the Thanksgiving is right around the corner. There's no doubt about that. It's this week. And it really means to Americans, probably it means family, food, and football, and certainly means turkey. Here's a nice turkey right there. That looks pretty good. The best part about Thanksgiving, though, by far, is the leftovers. There's usually food left over for days after Thanksgiving celebration, which means multiple meals to enjoy. However, all good things come to an end, but before you toss your Thanksgiving turkey away, you might want to consider keeping the bones so you can make your own batch of homemade bone broth. And I think that's a great idea. So bone broth can be considered really good stock. Traditional soup stock is thick, and that's due to collagen that seeps out of the bones and joints during long-term cooking. While broth is thinner, it's made with the actual meat. Over time, people start referring to traditional soup stock as bone broth, but in reality, there is a difference between the two. Bone broth is defined by its thickness and has a gelatin-like consistency when chilled, kind of like the Jell-O. This gel-like consistency comes from the collagen found in the bones. Collagen is a protein derived from the meat cartilage, which gives bone broth many of its numerous health benefits. And there are a lot of health benefits to bone broth. First, it heals the gut. The collagen found in bone broth protects and heals the digestive tract and potentially even helps heal leaky gut. Bone broth also supports better digestion, proper nutrition, absorption within the body. This is something that my wife and I often do when we feel not quite right. The bone broth is the go-to thing. It kind of smooths out the whole system for you, so you're feeling better rather quickly. It's a good thing to get into, and I think our ancestors had bone broth on the stove all the time. It also protects the joint. Bone broth is naturally filled with glucosamine, which helps protect the bones and heals the joints. Also supports the immune system. Bone broth has a high concentration of minerals responsible for supporting and strengthening the immune system. Ever wonder why Grandma's homemade chicken soup always made you feel better? Turns out there's scientific proof that you mix in all the ingredients with the gelatin and, of course, that motherly love in there, and that's what seems to work. You have that support from your family, and you have good food. It also strengthens your bones. There's phosphorus, magnesium, calcium found in the bone broth, and also supports your hair, nails, and skin and things like that. So let's go on with this, and I want to tell you how to make the bone broth so you can have this for yourself. In the meantime, please pick up the Health Signals newsletter, new one out today, and please pick up the Primal Edge, our one-shot wonder, and I'll be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated folic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com. Will the S&P 500 continue to climb? For bold trades on U.S. large-cap stocks in either direction, trade SPXL, SPUU, or SPXS. Directions Daily S&P 500 Bull and Bear Leveraged ETFs. Direction Leveraged ETFs. An investor should carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses before investing. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a fund's prospectus and summary prospectus, call 866-476-7523 or visit directioninvestments.com. A fund's prospectus and summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
Paige is gone, of course. She's in Thailand and sending us a lot of good information. One thing she did mention that when she gets back, she's going to take us through the whole story and the trip and tell us, what she did and how awesome it was. Guys, we're talking about bone broth here, and the health benefits are, of course, healing the gut, protects the joints, supports the immune system, strengthens bones, supports your hair, nails, and skin. So it's something that we really need and is probably missing out of your life. So how do you make bone broth? Well, in the beginning, it may be a little intimidating to make, but it's actually a lot easier than you think. If you're in a pinch, though, and you prefer to just use the mouse, point and click, then you can always order some online. There's plenty of good people out there that make that. First thing you need to know about this is animals need to be the healthiest in order to pass on the maximum health benefits to us. We should always start with the highest quality meats and bones. Look for pasture-raised, grass-fed if possible. The types of bone you choose are entirely up to you, but if you're repurposing your Thanksgiving turkey bones, then use those. You don't have to have your Thanksgiving turkey bones left over. Let's see, if you don't have your if you don't have turkey, it says here, then go for like knuckles, neck, feet, chicken bones. Those are good too. These bones have enough collagen in them. Chicken feet especially good for that too. Pick your produce too, and has a nice picture here of some of the meats and things that you can have. But you can select like vegetables and herbs you want to include in your batch of bone broth if you like. You just have it plain too. Just like your type of bones, your vegetation selection is completely up to you. Think of bone broth as a blank canvas for your culinary creativity. Anything goes. Here are some good suggestions. They suggest like bay leaves, of course, which you don't eat. You just take back out again. But carrots and celery, garlic, ginger is great, anti-inflammatory, green onions, leeks, other kinds of onions, parsley, peppers, pepper flakes, rosemary, sage, salt, and thyme. Avoid vegetables like broccoli, turnip peels, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, green peppers, collard greens, and mustards, as these will make your bone broth more bitter. Good thing to know. So once you gather all your ingredients, you can roast your bones and vegetables in the oven in a baking sheet for about 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes at 450. This will give your bone broth a richer flavor and a darker color because it's completely optional to do that, but it's another step you can take. And I always, when I like to prepare soups or even dishes that have a lot of broth to them, I like to sear my meats and vegetables first and put them in there. It just adds to the flavor. So it's a good suggestion. Place all the bones, let's see, and all your vegetables in a large stock pot of about, it doesn't really matter how big, I guess it depends on, how much you have, but add about 2 and 4 inches of water in there. Bring it to a boil and then reduce the heat, set it to simmer, and simmer on low heat for 12 to 24 hours. The longer the time, the richer the flavor. The optional thing is to skim the fat off the surface of your bone broth, but if you prefer to leave the fat in, which I normally do, remember this is entirely up to you. Now the fat always rises to the top. Now what I do take off, I take off what I call the dirty fat, the discolored fat, but the clear liquid fat I leave in there. Once your bone broth is finished cooking, you strain the liquid through a sieve and remove any remaining solids from them and the broth, and then sip and enjoy. So pretty easy. If you store these things, you plan on storing the batch of bone broth that you made, let it cool fully, and then divide it up into little containers. Bone broth can be stored in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days and can be kept in the freezer up to a year. But make sure that you keep the bone broth in airtight glass, freezer-safe containers, or pour it into your ice cube tray for easy access when you're cooking. So that's a pretty good idea. So this was brought to us by Ashley Martez. A little picture of her, might as well show that. She's the author of this, and she's out of Chicago, Illinois. So thank you for that. Very cool. Now, there's other things that we bring to the table, and I think it's always interesting to go back into history and figure out how these food items got there. Ask people around the table on Thursdays the history of Thanksgiving, and most will say that's something about the Pilgrims. If you're from Florida or southwestern United States, you might find yourself in a debate whether this was the first feast was actually held at Plymouth or St. Augustine or maybe El Paso. Only a few people might even mention the Civil War as being the beginning of Thanksgiving. This has been a big year for the 150th anniversary of the United States. Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st was 150 years old. Gettysburg in early July is 150 years old. And Thursday, Thanksgiving, is 150 years old as a national holiday. True settlers in English and Spanish colonies celebrated Thanksgiving in the earliest years and throughout the 1800s. New Englanders held the observances with their family and friends, but as a national holiday, the holiday dates back to 1863. That year, President Lincoln proclaimed a day of thanksgiving and praise for the nation's blessing in the face of the Civil War that was raging. Why then do we associate Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims? In the late 1800s, with immigrants, Jews, Italians, Chinese, and other outsiders pouring in the United States, America's culture's leader took 2 bits of shaky historic evidence from the 1600s and embraced the story of a Pilgrim Thanksgiving in the effort to Americanize an increasing diverse population. The myth of our holiday's Pilgrim origins took hold, but the dishes we eat at Thanksgiving, they capture other stories about making our American nation. And the first one here they mention is cider. Right up there. Cider was the national beverage. I never knew that. Later, unfermented sweet cider would become more common on American tables, but before the mid-1800s, the hard stuff was the drink of choice of the Americans. Har, har, of course. New Englanders most of all. Well, of course, that's where it's made, right? Introduced to North America from Europe, apple trees grew well in the temperate climate, and many New England families pressed cider from their own oysters. orchards, excuse me. Production was so successful that in 1767, Massachusetts colonists drank an estimated average of 35 gallons of cider per person. Wow. Many believed it was the most healthful and safer to drink than water. Cider was much more a substitute for clean water, however. Huh, that's pretty interesting. The Good Life, young John Adams wrote in 1765, consisted of having bacon and cider and books of Girl and Friend. Adams claimed Adams and his fellow New Englanders had their ancestors' ancient foes and New Englanders' traditional menace, the French, to thank for their favorite drink. Medieval Normans had brought cider with them across the English Channel. The people they conquered in 1066 would grow to love it and eventually took it across the Atlantic to make a quest for the known land. So cider goes really back a long way with the French to 1066. That's pretty amazing. Now, turkey, the bird on many Americans' Thanksgiving tables today, might be the only thing that connects our national holiday with all the romanticism of the meal in 1621, shared by the Pilgrims and Indians. So we'll go through a little bit of history here and see what we can find out. Stick around, folks. Got a lot more. I want to remind you, please pick up our Primal Edge, our one-shot wonder, and the new Health Signals newsletters out right now. We'll be right back.
Would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today. The TAS Profile Scanner is the most revolutionary piece of trading software that you will ever try. Wouldn't you like to approach the markets with confidence? As you begin your trading day, it's likely that you'll be faced with lots of decisions. In order to make the best decision, the first thing you'll need is a strategy that will help you minimize your risks. Whether we're in a bull or bear market, a good strategy is to have the tools needed to help you scan and analyze the markets before you trade. The TAS Profile Scanner instantly scans and filters over 2,500 global financial markets, such as stocks, ETFs, commodity futures, and Forex. Headed by Steve Dahl, president of TAS Market Profile, the TAS Profile Scanner understands that in today's technological world, the use of top-flight software applications, automated trading algorithms, and technical analysis expertise is essential to successful trading in today's market. Whether you're looking at the trade matrix, the ETF heat grid, the market breadth, the landscape charts, or the many other features of the TAS Profile Scanner, this is a piece of software that will revolutionize how you look at the markets and set up your trades. The team at TAS has even put together a 12-part video series to walk you through every aspect of the TAS Profile Scanner, which you can find directly on the TAS order page at tfnn.com. Sign up now for only $97 a month with a risk-free 30-day trial, so you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. See for yourself how you can harness the full power of the TAS Profile Scanner by visiting the front page of tfnn.com today, and you'll find the TAS Profile Scanner under the Services section. Remember, with a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Don't let another day pass you by without trying out this amazing piece of software that will revolutionize how you look at the market and how you place trades. Sign up today.
This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And welcome back to the show, folks. Number here is 877-927-6648 if you'd like to give us a call. We're talking turkey today, and you know, one of the things that when the Pilgrims came over here, they found this new bird, of course. They didn't have it in the old world. William Branford, the governor of Plymouth Plantation, this was back in the early 1600s, tells us his account of the colony's early years, that settlers' diet that fall of 1611, or 1621, excuse me, included wild turkey along with venison, cod, bass, waterfowl, and corn. The turkeys might have been quite welcome to the newcomers because it was a harsh and unfriendly new surroundings, and it was a hard winter that winter. Thanks to their Spanish imperial rivals, the English had been enjoying this meaty bird for decades. Spaniards had encountered turkeys in their early days in the New World and had brought the birds back home. Turkey became popular across Western Europe and around the Mediterranean and was one of the first American foods to be widely eaten in Europe. So well established in England was the New World bird that English settlers brought domesticated turkeys to America in the colony's first years. Pretty interesting. So it kind of went backwards there. Another thing that came to the table was cranberry sauce. Although certain varieties of cranberry grow in parts of Europe, the turkey's most popular dinner companion tells a story of New World cultural exchange. The fruit's name is a legacy of the 17th century German settlers in America. Called in medieval England mossberry, and other very similar terms that allude to the fruit's boggy habitat, English speakers borrowed their German's neighbor's term cranberry, spelled K-R-A-N-B-E-R-E-E, which refers to a long crane-like stamens of the plant. So it looks like the plant. The fruit use draws on natives' food cultures. Indigenous people had long raised and eaten berries. A 1672 account of the colonies reported that Indian and English used it a lot. Boiling them with sugar for a sauce to eat with their meat. Cranberry sauce has been paired with turkey in particular since at least the 18th century. There's a book called American Cookery, which was published in 1796 by Amelia Simmons, suggested serving roast turkey with boiled onions and cranberry sauce, but she added that turkey might also be paired with pickled mangoes, which in the 1790s were imported from India and sold in American cities. How differently might we taste and think about turkey had the tropical fruit become a typical companion instead of the cranberries? Interesting. Another one is oyster stuffing. Always like that. Americans have been stuffing turkeys with oysters for centuries. Now a treat. Oysters were once plentiful for centuries and were almost commonly eaten selfish in America. At home, cooks filled turkeys and other birds with oysters to stretch the pricier fowl. So the oysters and the other things they use, maybe mussels and clams, were a lot less expensive. So that's why they kind of, remember, we always talk about the starvation foods like the cereals and things like that for things to extend the food, but here they're extending the meat with other meats. Kind of interesting. Of course, huge flavor. Let's see, what else does it say? Although special dishes such as oyster stuffing in New England, oyster Rockefeller in New Orleans, or the Hangtown Fry in San Francisco distinguish particular regions. And by the mid-1800s, the expanded country had a national oyster market and was united in a national oyster craze. So that's about the mid-1900s or 1800s is when oysters really became prevalent across the whole United States. Sweet potatoes with marshmallows. Oh, those marshmallows. Those are things that'll kill you, right? For many, the turkey meal must include sweet potatoes with marshmallows. The happy marriage of the tuber with caramelized gooey goodness owes itself to two developments of the 1800s. In the late part of the century, in the decades when the national Thanksgiving holiday took hold, Northerners discovered sweet potatoes, long eaten in the South, and incorporated them into their special meal. Meanwhile, marshmallows have been recently invented by the culinary trendsetters, the French, who beat the roots of the marshmallow plant into egg whites and sugar to make the chewy treat. Handmade and something of a luxury at first, marshmallow became much more affordable after entrepreneurs substituted more widely available gelatin for marshmallow root. And in an era that was developing mass production techniques more generally, figured out how to manufacture an affordable product on a grand scale. In 1917, the Angelus Marshmallow Company distributed a recipe booklet teaching Americans how they might use marshmallows. With that, the classic pairing has arrived. Here's another one that I've never had at Thanksgiving, but it sounds pretty good. Tamales, relatively new to the Thanksgiving table. They're one of the oldest American foods. Mesoamerican dish that dates back millennials. Tamales are the simplest forms are masa, which is the maize dough wrapped in either the corn husks or banana plantation leaves, steamed and then unwrapped to be eaten. The masa can also be filled with beans, meat, vegetables, or cheese. Tamales are an everyday food, but also have special places on holiday tables in Mexico and Central America. In Mexico, they are eaten at the Day of the Dead celebration in early November. In the U.S. Southwest, a region where culinary traditions have long been shaped by ties, of which is now Mexico, special tamales filled with beef and red chilies are made for Christmas, red being the color, of course. Thanks to the recent Latin American immigration to the United States, tamales are increasingly showing up at the Thanksgiving tables. With the name derived from the Nahuatl word tamale, this hearty newcomer to our national meal highlights the fact that Latin American immigrants often have Indian ancestry. Mexican-American Indians are now the fourth largest native group in America. Another dish here we have is rice, whether it's served with beans or in risotto or pilaf or stuffing or simply just steamed. Rice has a leading place at the table. Of course, is it a food extender too? It's always been at the leading place of the American export crop. In the British colonies, rice farming began in the 1600s, relying on the slaves, the African slaves, who supplied not only the hard labor but the knowledge of rice cultivation because they had that where they were from. Most likely. 1800s, South Carolina, the heart of the early American rice industry, exported millions of pounds of rice to the West Indies and Europe. And after the Civil War, Carolina rice industry declined and rice production shifted somewhat. Today, the United States is the third largest rice exporter nation in the world, where rice industry is now centralized in Arkansas. On Thursday, millions will sit down with meals that feature rice. And yeah, thanks to American farmers, so we're not getting it from China. And the last one here is the pumpkin pie, which is everybody's favorite, I think. This dessert did not show up in Thanksgiving tables until the early 1800s, but late in the century, pumpkin pies were so closely associated with Thanksgiving that everybody has them. Lately, this classic has been showing up everywhere. Vegans, cookbooks. You can make it with eggs or without eggs. Anyway, pretty interesting, folks. Stick around, folks. Got a lot more. I'll be right back. Meanwhile, please pick up our new Health Signals newsletter and, of course, the famous Primal Edge, our one-shot wonder. Make you healthy. So stick around. Numbers here, 877-927-6648. Be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, oil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
No matter what kind of trader you are, 2018 is a great time to try out a subscription to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report. Whether you just plan on diversifying your portfolio with some exposure to gold and gold mining equities, or you're a gold bull that sees 2018 as the year of commodities, now is a great time to sign up for the Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his Gold Report every Monday morning before the market opens and covers a variety of topics including gold, silver, platinum, copper, the XAU and HUI, the dollar, bonds, South African rand, as well as more than 20 of the most actively traded mining equities. Start your 2018 off with a bang and sign up for the Gold Report today. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. For all the details and to start your subscription right now, visit the front page of TFNN.com and you'll find the Gold Report under Investment Newsletters. David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV for the latest market information.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Of course, Thanksgiving has a different kind of history, too. For me personally, and I think for a lot of people, Thanksgiving is about family. Going to visit, this is what I did most of my life, going to visit my folks, and when my folks were gone, then I went to visit my sister, and now that my sister's gone, we no longer make those trips. And for the last few years, Ellen and I have been kind of searching out what to do, and we've gotten invited to some friends' homes, and that's been very nice. And last year we ended up going to the club with them, and this year we're going back. And so this is the new tradition, and it's with friends rather than family for us. It's kind of a new family in a way. It's very nice. It's completely different. Still kind of getting used to it because of all those years of doing things, and this is a lot of times where the sadness comes in, missing the people that are no longer here. But of course, the celebration continues because now we have new friends and new people to see, and that makes it very nice. But there is a history of Thanksgiving that isn't quite so pleasant, and I do want to go over that because we want to know where these traditions come in. And now that we're celebrating in kind of a happy thing, and we always have these visions of family, but if we go back a little bit, we have that vision that we were taught in school. The happy pilgrims and stuff like that. So let's go into that a little bit. Most of us associate the holiday with happy pilgrims and Indians sitting around having a big feast. And that did happen once. The story began in 1640 when a band of English explorers sailed home to England with a ship full of Pequot Indians bound for slavery. They left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who had escaped. By the time the pilgrims arrived back in Massachusetts Bay, they found only one living Pequot Indian, a man named Squanto, who survived the slavery in England and knew their language. He taught them how to grow corn and to fish, and negotiated a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the nation of Indians that were there at the time. At the end of their first year, the Pilgrims held a great feast honoring the Quanto and the Indians themselves. But as word spread in England about the paradise to be found in the New World, religious zealots called Puritans began arriving by the boatload. Finding no fences around the land, they consider it to be public domain. Joined by other British settlers, they seized the land, captured young, strong natives for slaves, and killed the rest. But the Pequot Indian Nation did not agree to a peace treaty that the Quanto had negotiated, and they fought back. The Pequot War was one of the bloodiest Indian wars ever fought. In 1637, near present-day Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. In the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot or clubbed to death, while terrifying women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burned alive. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, women, and children had been murdered. Cheered by their victory, the brave colonists and their Indian allies attacked village after village. Women and children over 14 were sold into slavery, while the rest were murdered. Boats loaded with as many as 500 slaves regularly left ports of New England. Bounties were paid on the Indian scalp to encourage as many deaths as possible. Following an especially successful raid against the Pequot in what now is Stamford, Connecticut, the churches announced the second day of Thanksgiving to celebrate their victory over the heathen savages. During the festivals, the hacking off of the natives' head and they were kicked along the streets. And this was mainly done by my relatives, not relatives, but ancestors, the Dutch, big soccer people. Maybe the English were involved too, I don't know, but not good. Their chief was beheaded and their hand was impaled on a pole in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where it remained on display for 24 years. The killing became more and more frenzies, with the days of Thanksgiving feasts being held after each successful massacre. George Washington finally suggested that only one of the Thanksgiving days per year be set aside in celebrating each and every massacre. Later, Abraham Lincoln decreed Thanksgiving Day to be legal national holiday during the Civil War. On the same day, he ordered troops to march against the starving Sioux in Minnesota. The story hasn't always been the same fuzzy good feelings associated with it, where the Indians and Pilgrims all sit down together at a big feast. But we need to learn the truth about history so it won't be repeated. Next Thanksgiving, when you gather with your loved ones to thank God for all your blessings, think about the people who only wanted to live their lives and raise their families. They also take time to thank the Creator for all their blessings, of course. So this is the story that we don't hear often about. I think it's an important thing to get the truth out and not go with these fairy tales, kind of like the Columbus thing. You know, we know people have been arriving in the Americas for years and years before Columbus. He didn't discover it. People were here. And same thing with this. And the thing that really gets me too is that the people, because there was no fences, and remember in Europe what was happening at this time in the 1600s, all the land was already gone. So this was a big boom to people who were coming. This was the freedom that they were so desperately wanting. You know, they were already entombed in kind of a slavery because we had the kings and the queens and the royals, and then we had the peasants. And there was a huge, huge difference between standard of living, even though the royals may not have been healthy because they were overdoing things, but certainly the peasants had a much, much harder life. And none of the bounty was really shared. It was more like the bounty of 90% was given to the people in the castle, and the rest of the people just didn't have much. And that's kind of the story of how things went. So when we came here and realized, heck, no fences, I mean, the natural mindset of Europeans at that time was, no fences, this must be free land. And this is how we started colonizing. And the other thing, too, that really gets me is, of course, the diseases. And we often talk about this. The diseases went across the United States much, much faster. So the estimate really is that about 10% of the population, by the time the white man got to the Mississippi River, already half the population of Native America was decimated just by disease. Instead of 100 million people, maybe they had 50, maybe as low as 30 million people. And then as time went on, by the time we got to the 1800s and the mid-1800s after the Civil War, probably had maybe 10 million people. So 1/10 of the population that was here a few hundred years before that time was just left. So that's a huge history of that we're not being taught. And if we want to, you know, what if we discovered something new? What if we discovered a new continent all of a sudden? Now, that's impossible because we've been all around the world. But maybe we can say, what if we discovered we could live on the moon? And there were already people there. Maybe there are. Who knows, you know. But what will we do? Will we do that same thing? Now we have a moon type of feast here and start killing the people on there. It's a crazy history that we've repeated over and over and over again, and this is a kind of a aspect of our society that we don't talk enough about. I encourage people to start reading things from Peter Joseph, and there are a lot of other people involved in the Zeitgeist movement, and start thinking about how we can take our lives back without the authoritarian presence always being there. I've got another segment left, so stick around. I'll be right back.
I'm certain you are or strive to be one of the best at everything you do in life. It's the most common trait that we tigers and tigresses share. If you're looking to become the best of the best when it comes to managing your money, let me teach you to do what most wealth managers tell you can't be done, which is how to time the markets. I'm Steve Rhodes, author of Mastering Probability, and for the last 12 months, Timer Digest has been tracking my newsletter signals, which have earned me the ranking as their #1 market timer in the nation for the S&P 500 for the last 12, 6, and 3 months. Timer Digest also ranks me as the #1 market timer for gold as well. The fact is, markets can be timed, and I'll teach you the exact set of tools that I use that has transformed me into one of the best at what I do. Sign up for Mastering Probability today by clicking on the newsletter tab on the homepage of TFNN.com and get immediate access to workshops where I take you step by step how to use an extraordinary set of tools as well as provide great market calls too. Sign up today.
Hi folks, Tom O'Brien here. If you'd like to get my daily newsletter, Market Insights, then now is a great time to sign up for a 30-day free trial. Every morning by 9:30, I send out my morning letter to subscribers with market commentary on a variety of markets, currencies, and commodities to keep investors up to date on the day's trading action. Included in Market Insights are specific buy and sell recommendations for stocks, ETFs, and even options, with stops and price targets included for every trade in my newsletter. If you'd like to try my newsletter risk-free for 30 days, then head over to the front page of TFNN and you'll find Market Insights under Trading Newsletters. I use my years of trading experience to bisect and dissect the market every morning and give my subscribers the most important information they need to know for the day ahead. I even issue afternoon updates for my subscribers whenever warranted with important market action. I'm always scouring the market for the next great trading opportunity. Sign up for your 30-day free trial to my daily newsletter, Market Insights, today by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Wow! Go get 'em, folks.
TFNN has put together the best lineup of live content for traders by traders every market day, featuring some of the most knowledgeable and respected minds in the business. TFNN broadcasts 5 days a week live from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We have live programming every market day during market hours. Every morning, Larry Pesavento kicks off the trading day live at 9 a.m. and breaks down the opening bell with Trade What You See. At 10 a.m., Tom and Tommy O'Brien host the Bull Bear Nadex Options Hour, followed at 11 a.m. by the team at TD Ameritrade and Thinkorswim with Fast Market. Basil Chapman hosts the Tiger Technicians Hour at noon, Steve Rhodes at 1 p.m. with the Trader's Edge, Dave White at 2 p.m. with the Power Trading Hour, and Tom O'Brien anchors the daily lineup from 3 till 5 as host of the Tom O'Brien Show. Tune in to TFNN's Tiger TV on your computer or mobile device, and you can always find us streaming on YouTube. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Welcome back. I don't have a lot of time in this segment, but I wanted to bring this to your attention. 3 new DNA studies are shaking up the history of humans in America. And of course, the traditional history has been that along the Bering Strait, we crossed over from Europe. And of course, during the grand solar minimums and the ice ages, Alaska was really ice-free. But there was a huge barrier there, and they think a lot of people went through the barrier. Some of them went around, hugging the coast, and ended up in America. But now the DNA studies have been showing that some groups really went all the way down to South America and moved into the Andes and never went back. I mean, these groups kind of split up into different sections, and it's a lot different than we think. So certain groups that migrated into Alaska, then went south and kept going and kept going and kept going, and then all of a sudden they were in the Andes, and they stayed in the Andes. They preferred those high altitudes. Some of them went down to Florida. Some of them went into the Midwest. Some of them went all the way down to Brazil and things like that. So the history of how we migrated is changing completely because of DNA. I don't have time to go into the whole thing, but I'm going to be putting this into the next newsletter that's coming up in December. So I wanted you to be aware that this is coming. There's really been some interesting things, and these people are really resilient and finding new land. You know, before we thought the Clovis people were the last people that were here, and that was 13 to 15,000 years ago. And before that, there were no people here. And now we're finding evidence that people were here 20,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, maybe 100,000 years ago. So there were people here a lot earlier than we thought. And when we arrived, we really don't know that the ancestors of these people, where they came from. A lot of them might have come from Mongolia, but maybe China. Some of them may have come from the Andes, or from the Himalayas. That maybe those were the groups that wanted the Andes. I don't know, and we really don't know how long ago this was, maybe 8,000 years ago when the last migration took place. But people have been migrating here for millions or thousands, maybe millions of years. We really don't know. But interesting, I'm going to put it in the newsletter, and the title of it is 3 DNA Studies Are Shaking Up the History of Humans in America. Thanks a lot, folks. I'll be back next week. See you Tuesday, and Paige will still be gone for one more week or so, but she'll be back soon with some good stories. See you then. Bye.
No matter what kind of trader you are, 2018 is a great time to try out a subscription to Tom O'Brien's Gold Report. Whether you just plan on diversifying your portfolio with some exposure to gold and gold mining equities, or you're a gold bull that sees 2018 as the year of commodities, now is a great time to sign up for the Gold Report. Tom O'Brien publishes his Gold Report every Monday morning before the market opens and covers a variety of topics including gold, silver, platinum, copper, the XAU and HUI, the dollar, bonds, South African rand, as well as more than 20 of the most actively traded mining equities. Start your 2018 off with a bang and sign up for the Gold Report today. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. For all the details and to start your subscription right now, visit the front page of TFNN.com and you'll find the Gold Report under Investment Newsletters.